Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another exciting edition of Rebound with yours truly, Chris Cooper. Once again, Chris Cooper here, and as a lifestyle and procrastination expert, I help folks just like you stop quitting, stop procrastinating, and start succeeding in business and in every area of life. And I am super duper excited about today's show. It's entitled The Will to Serve. And I have, this is more than just guests, this is family to me. And I just can't wait for you to hear their incredible story and what they're doing for so many individuals. But real fast, once again, the last 2 years has been crazy with uncertainty, crazy with so many things that, are that unpredictability and, an economic decline and the racial stuff and just so many things, so many factors all together that it just creates a space where we need to kind of breathe. And we need to kind of refocus and prepare ourselves to be able to bounce back better than ever. And that's why I started this platform, this whole concept of rebounding with Chris Cooper. Once again, the 4 tenements of this show and this movement are: the first R is to reflect on the things and the people that really matter to us. Number 2, refocusing. Now that you understand who and what matters most, now let's refocus our efforts. Let's get tunnel vision and focus on the things and the people and the activities and the opportunities that really matter. And then the next R, of course, which is all about reinvention. And I think last 2 years, we all had to do that. We had to do things differently. The new normal is here. Things will not go back to the way they were, so we must adapt and change. Never forget, change is inevitable, but progress is optional. I'm gonna say it one more time. Change is inevitable, but progress is optional. And the last R, of course, reinvesting in yourself. And the engineer that I am by degree, I think about this almost as a cycle. So the 5th R I'm gonna throw in is the repeat. So after you reflect, after you refocus, after you reinvent, after you reinvest, now you repeat that process over and over again, because we all live in the world's biggest room, which is, guess what? The room for improvement. Cha-cha. I know I have corny jokes, but anyway, I am super excited to have some amazing guests with me today. A dynamic duo. That's probably an understatement to the work that these individuals are doing in the community. None other than CJ and Kelli Stewart. Now, as I bring them forward, I'm gonna start with CJ and I'm gonna flip it over to Kelli. But once again, I'm going to start with CJ. CJ is a Atlanta native, a former Chicago Cubs outfielder, and an Amazon #1 best-selling author, with his story Living to Lead, a story of passion, purpose, and grit. He's earned the distinction of being one of the top baseball player development professionals in the country. And as the founder and CEO of Diamond Directors, Stewart has achieved unmatched success in the player development industry. He has over 22 years of experience, and his firm has developed some of the game's top amateur, collegiate, and professional players. In addition to that, his story is one that sadly is not uncommon, but is uncommon. Not uncommon in that he came from very meager and humble beginnings, but uncommon in that he beat the odds and he's making a difference. And he's not only lifting as he climbed, but he's bringing everybody up with him. And he has an amazing wife, him and his wife, Kelli. I'm going to tell you about her in just a second. But they're doing some incredible things with their lead organization. And I just can't wait. I'm not going to talk about them too much. I'm going to let them talk about all the great things that they're doing. So I'm going to bring on CJ real fast, and then we're going to shoot over to Kelli. CJ, what's up, my brother? Welcome.
I'm good. How about you? I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited. I'm excited to have you, sir. And I want to first and foremost just honor you and celebrate you for the impact that you're making on the community, specifically with individuals that look just like you and me, young Black men. And it means the world to me. As a father of 2 Black sons myself, seeing great men like you definitely continues to just inspire me to be better and to do better for them. So thank you so much for that, sir. All right, so now I'm going to toss it over to his better half, none other than the amazing Miss Kelli Stewart. She was born and raised right here in the A as well, in a rural community just outside of Athens, Georgia. Although both parents were not a consistent fixture in her life, Kelli's grandmother, Miss Amy Lou Faust, provided a stable and nurturing home environment where she raised Kelli to have an old soul that has served her well. She is a graduate of Cedar Shoals High, She's done so much. But one thing I'm gonna say right now, I'm gonna skip over all her. She has a million accolades. But one thing in particular, I know she's one of the core 100 most influential blacks. I would just say one of the core 100 most influential people, period. She might be black, but she's just influential because she's super fantastic and most excellent. So I'm just going to go ahead and just skip to the chase and bring none other. And Kelli, of course, she's the, she is the organization behind the organization, and I know she runs the day-to-day operations of the nonprofit, and she's killing it. And she's here, and she's speaking, and she's and oh, I didn't mention that like they're like this close with the mayor and all the other the governor and all the other influential people in Georgia. So let's give it up. Let's bring on Kelli Stewart.
You are crazy, Chris. Hello. So happy to be here.
Excellent. I'm so happy to have you both. And like I said, this really means a lot to me because this concept is all about this idea of the will to serve. And for anybody that knows me, my philosophy has always been that I am a student first, I am a teacher second, and I am a servant always. And from that place of service, I know that I'm able to give my gift and do outstanding and amazing things. As a result of that. So I'm really excited, like I said, to hear more about your story, your background, all that kind of stuff, and how we got, to where we are today. So I'm gonna leave it to one of you to kind of kick it off and just kind of tell us, about your background and your experience and how you got to do the work that you're doing right now in the community.
CJ.
All right. So I'm CJ Stewart, and so my government name is Courtney James, which is a name that I despised as a kid because of this. It's a unisex name, but then on top of that is Courtney, and so my mom and dad both were huge fans of all my children when I was a kid. Growing up as a young working class family, just trying to figure out how to navigate the world. Looking at television was a part of how they were gonna raise me. And so there was a white man on there. I don't know his last name, his character, but his first name was Cortland. And so my mom got the idea to name me Courtney after him. And so, ironically, it's just one of those things where a lot of families, especially the ones that were living in poverty and working class, that were really being crushed by systemic racism, was really having to think about the future of themselves and their children through the eyes of what it would be like to be Black, but have some parts of you to act white. And so, living in Northwest Atlanta, got an opportunity to get introduced to baseball at a very young age. My grandfather watched Chicago Cubs baseball games in the summertime. And I remember in 1984, I was 8 years old. The Cubs won the NL East. They had a lot of great players on the team. One of my favorite was a gentleman named Gary Matthews Sr., who we call the Sarge. And he was just awesome. And so at a very young age, I said, that's what I want to do when I grow up. So I would go in the backyard, I would be hitting rocks, busting windows out of people's houses, sometimes on purpose and sometimes by accident when I would be out there. And my aunts got me involved with baseball because they got me signed up along with my mom and dad over at Cascade Youth Organization. And I was fortunate enough that when I got over there to start playing, even though I was very new and behind because a lot of kids were playing T-ball as early as 5, I was on the CYO Braves. My coaches was Joshua Butler and Emmett Johnson Sr. Well, what was so great about that is that Emmett Johnson Sr. was the chairman of the Atlanta Public Schools Board of Education, which was a powerful position. So even though I was living in a household that was financially poor, I was connected with some powerful people in the city through the sport of baseball. Fast forwarding, had this dream of playing baseball in the Cubs organization. Met TJ Wilson, who's a former Atlanta Police Department officer. He recently passed. But I told him that dream, and within a month, I was trying out with the Chicago Cubs. I was 14 years old when I had my first workout with the Cubs, worked out with them again at the age of 18. got drafted out of Westlake High School at 18, went on to college at Georgia State University, then DeKalb College, and then signed again. Actually was drafted again by the Cubs, signed. And then just fast forwarding, when my career was over with the Cubs, I really wanted to use my life as a blueprint to help people be successful in the game of baseball, but also have it sustained. I had a career playing professional baseball, but it was not long lasting because of a lack of core values and a really formalized blueprint. So I wanted to give that, but in order to give it, people had to pay me. And so I was doing that for profit with Kelli through Diamond Directors for years. And then just bringing this to a close to answer the question about, myself and where I am. In 2007, one of my white clients, Stan Conway, I was training his middle school age son. And Stan told me, he said, CJ, three things. He was like, listen, number one, if you were as good as you said you was as a coach, your rates wouldn't be so low. So that was a pitch that I swung and missed, and we've changed our rates because of that. But that was a good lesson to learn. Number two, he said, if you was as good as you said you was, it shouldn't be so easy for people to get access to you. And then the third thing that he said, which was the strikeout pitch that I had to recover from and step up to the plate on with the help of Kelli, was there's a decline of blacks in baseball and you're not doing anything about it. And so I had accomplished all of these great things. But basically, I was planting seeds in gardens that wasn't mine. And so from 2007, that is where we got started with LEAD. And it's a part of my life and my life mission. And I'm glad I get a chance to do it alongside Kelli and with the support of great folks like you, Chris.
That is incredible. And I love those lessons that you just shared. Understanding your value, a premium product, right? Or a premium thing, the perception of a premium product is that it should cost a lot. So when you are giving things away at a lower price, people begin to question the value of what it is. And I think that's so critical. And I'm gonna say that's a lesson. You know what? Let me get my DJ horn going today, like I always do. They know I'm crazy out here. But here we go. Drop the cruise bomb on them, baby, right? Because what you just said is so amazing. Understanding your value, that is so critically important. And so many individuals, whether they're in corporate, whether they're in entrepreneurship, whether they're in entertainment, education, they don't know their value and they're not willing to step up and actually show individuals what their value is. So I think that's incredible. The second one, as you said, it's too easy to get to you, right? I teach a lot of my clients, especially aspiring coaches and stuff, that there's two things that people need to pay for: intimacy and access. The closer they can get to you and the more access they will have to you. But once again, that comes with what? A premium. So yeah, you're not going to get intimacy and access at a very low dollar. You're going to invest, you're going to pay, you have to feel something. It has to hurt you a little bit because it's a sacrifice, because it's going to ultimately assist you in your development. And the last thing, like I said, of the idea of service, especially increasing the number of blacks in baseball, I think is absolutely extraordinary. And of course, as we got out of Black History Month, but Black History is every day, all day, if you ask me. But the official Black History Month, I think it's very important to understand, some of the amazing black baseball players that we have, from the Hank Aaron's to all over, everywhere. So thanks so much for that. So Kelli, tell me how you end up with this guy. Like how did y'all create this empire together?
So that is a story within itself. So CJ, I was born here in Atlanta, Georgia Baptist, and was raised here until I was about 5 or 6, and my parents got a divorce. So I moved to the country with my grandmother. She lived in Oglethorpe County, right outside of Athens. So I was raised on a whole farm. And so in 1996, when I graduated from high school, I moved back to Atlanta to go to Georgia State University. I was working at Foot Locker at South DeKalb Mall because I was working at the Foot Locker in Athens. I just transferred. So I'm starting this new life, coming back, home. And I was leaving work one night really late, about 11 o'clock from Foot Locker. And I lived with my aunt, who lived off of Glenwood Road off of 20. And this dude starts following me. And I'm just like, what is this? Come back to Atlanta and this is how I die. Like somebody's gonna, stalk me. And so I got off on Glenwood. So I'm thinking, this dude ain't finna follow me off the exit. This man follows me off the exit. And so of course I couldn't go home.
Right.
So I pulled over to it was a Texaco gas station at the time, across the street from Greater Piney Grove Baptist Church. He pulled in behind me. I got my mace out and I was like, what's up? And he was like, you gonna spray me with that mace? And I was like, I don't know. You gonna do something to get sprayed with mace? And that was September 7th, 1996. And we've been together ever since.
Wow. I love it. I love it. And I think this is so important. And, when you talk about partnership, marriage is one thing, right? But being true partners in initiatives, whether it's business, nonprofit, all let's be honest, guys, a nonprofit is just a business that's tax exempt. Okay. It's still a business, right? And I think people forget that sometimes. So I would love for you to share, what does that part, like, how did you understand what he needed, right, in that moment to create this behemoth of an organization and the way that in which you were able to serve? Because your skill set is so complementary to his. I know this because I know you. but I think it's so important. When you talk about a dynamic duo, or you talk about a tag team, or you talk about individuals that are able to do that. But I think it's a culmination and it's a collaborative spirit that is so powerful. So what are some of the things, I guess, that you noticed, throughout your relationship and throughout building this organization that were really important?
I just think we got to take a step back even from the organization and just realize that CJ and I were two young people trying to find our way in the world. We got married. We got together and got married very young. I was 19 and he was 21 when we got married. We had been together a little under a year, when we decided we were going to get married. So we were also trying to deal with the how we were raised as far as relationships go. So we were trying to find our cadence with each other, that way. And then here comes business. You know what I'm saying? And while we've had relatives in our families who have had various forms of entrepreneurial ventures, some legal, some not, but I'm just saying, we have never had a formal training in business. You know what I'm saying?
Right. My
grandmother was a domestic worker in Athens and worked for like 5 or 6 families in Athens, but there was no formalized janitorial service. You feel what I'm saying? It was just, I gotta, work and clean houses to eat and feed my family, So we were trying to put all of that together, learning how to trust each other as husband and wife, but also learning how to trust each other as business partners. So it has been a roller coaster of a ride.
Okay, I understand. I think that's so important, as you said, to just learning and growing together and individually, right?
Yeah,
and understanding that.
And
so of course the big
individually, Chris, learning and growing in our own capacities, because it's like neither one of us went to school for nonprofit management.
Right.
This was a true calling on his life, that as his life partner, his spouse, his wife, I really had to say, okay, where do you fit into all of this? Because he got this thing on him and he is not letting it go. So I can't fight him on it. So just really trying to find out where, I fit in. And as, we're building this plane as we're flying it. And I'm learning this skill set of being an executive director, him having to trust me, in a space that I'm not familiar with, and me having to trust him, with what he knows about baseball and what he knows from the personal lived experience of being a Black boy who's grown into a Black man. It's, it's like made for TV. Like we need our own show for real.
Okay. So you hear that? So we're going to make sure we put that out in the universe, the show.
Yeah.
Okay. I want a producer credit. Go ahead.
Amen.
Let's go. But I love what you just said about the power of trust, right? In business relationships as well as personal relationships. And I think that that is one of the major tenets. And I think, as a business owner myself, and I've been in business now, over 15 years, that's always, and I've been through a couple of assistants, because, that trust thing is important to me,
It
right?
is.
And really, being able, let's be honest, a business is a baby. It's a baby. It's a child, right? And just like I protect my boys, I'm going to protect my business, right? And I think that it's really important that we understand, what is required to build. If we, like I said, we're flying the plane as we're learning, we're building it as we're flying, right? But I think the beautiful part about your story, both of you guys' story collectively, as we said, just think about this. It's a pandemic. It's, everybody is freaking out. Schools are closing. Protests are going on, all this other kind of stuff. And in the midst of all of this, because of you guys' heart, because of your desire to serve, your organization flourishes and it grows, and you get more opportunities to have an impact. So I know the folks out there want to hear, wait a minute, how did they build $1 million nonprofit organization in the midst of a pandemic? So I'm gonna throw that out there, and so you guys can ultimately just share, what I know. There's no magic formula. But if there's some things you could give, I have a lot of folks that tune in, especially in the LinkedIn platform, that are in nonprofit organizations or have a desire to create one. I think it'll be very good for them to hear from you some of the things that you learned on this journey to getting to this, pivotal moment. And this is just the beginning. I understand this is y'all just starting. Let's be honest. But I would love to hear some of your, tidbits and tips and tricks and things that you learned along the way.
So for me, I would just add the power of authenticity and, keeping it real, keeping it 100, whatever you want to call it. But, that has to just be a part of who you are as a human being. Because during the course of starting Lee, we started off at this intersection of sports, baseball, and social justice. And that was a lonely intersection because we were told that, oh, you're never going to be able to raise money if you talk about race. And then, our dear brother, Trayvon Martin, our dear brother, George Floyd, dear sister, Breonna Taylor, Tashiana Jefferson, it's like after the Black community had to give these blood sacrifices to be seen again, you know what I'm saying? Now, all of a sudden, people want to talk about race. And it's like, we've been here, you know what I'm saying? And I think just this next wave or whatever you want to call it of racial unrest or racial reckoning, as people are calling it, really shone a light on the work that we were already doing and had been doing for a long time. And people began to understand the need to talk about race and racism, but they were also looking for people to help them do it in a way that was not so polarizing to the point where you feel like you got to come to blows with people. And I just think that's one of the superpowers that we have when it comes down to talking about race. Like, we can talk about it and we don't have to agree, but we have to talk about it and get to the table so we can try to bring some information and understanding to the space.
I love it. And I'll toss that over to you, CJ, as well. That's just piggybacking and building off of this whole concept of authenticity. So from your perspective, I mean, what do you think the role that authenticity has played in your ability? Because I know you've got a lot of strategic partners, right, and individuals that are now vested, right, in the work that you do. So what role does authenticity play in building and knowing who to partner with and who not to partner with?
Yeah, I think that the thing that allows me as our chief visionary officer to continue to do it well is just reflecting back on from the beginning of my life. I mean, as I was telling the story, me as a kid, when I grew up, I wanted to play for the Chicago Cubs. I mean, I was convicted in those moments and being in Atlanta at my grandparents' house and watching those games. I mean, if it was basketball, hockey, whatever it was, but it just so happened that it was baseball. And so I was convicted, and being convicted by that, I mean, it was at the soul level, not at the heart level, not at the mind level, but it started at like, this is in my soul. This is what I want to do. And then that allowed me to to speak about it and act with courage. And so that's what I told people. Hey, this is what I want to do, and I've been rewarded for that. I mean, even with Kelli. I mean, well, even before seeing her, I mean, I always wanted to be married young, and I had a silhouette of what that was going to look like as far as skin tone, build, height, everything. So when I saw her, it was like, okay, just move. And then
I see you. Wait. He said, when I saw her, he said, what? I'm sorry.
So for me, conviction is key. Like it directs my path. Like I'm convicted, and so even to the point of things that I don't do, if I'm not convicted, then I'm not going to be able to do it. And I mean, even I think we all have some form of ADHD. I think I have more than most, and so that's actually a good thing because it protects me from doing stupid stuff. Like I'm not convicted, then I'm not going to be connected to it. I'm not going to be able to do it. And then I'll use the other word, care. So I think that everybody is important. I think that everything is important. I do not have the capacity to care about everybody and everything. So me being convicted then allows me to say, okay, this is what I care about. And then it allows me to then collaborate and partner with people. Like there's a million things for me to be doing today other than being here with you. Right. There's a million things you could be doing today other than doing this show.
Right.
I have been convicted to be significant, serving millions, bringing them into a relationship with Jesus Christ. Started with my wife, Kelli, my daughter, Mackenzie, and McKenna. So I'm convicted to do that. This fits into that. And I care about you.
Right.
So it just makes it really, really easy. And the same thing when it comes down to the people that we partner with to fulfill our mission and vision for LEAD. This is my conviction. What is your conviction? If we're not aligned on that, then we're not doing nothing else.
Right. Right.
If we're aligned on it from a conviction standpoint, then it's, do you care? And I don't care if you're black, white, whatever it is, and especially if you're black, do you care about the plight of black boys in the inner city of Atlanta that are coming from low-income homes and struggling with grades, attendance, and behavior? If you don't care about that, I don't have time to make you care and teach you. So when those things happen, then LEAD has been able to become $1 million organization and be able to expand off of those two things right there. For me, is conviction and care.
I love it. And I think what you just said is so incredible. I'm going to make sure that we get that one up there too. It's the care and the conviction, and I think another lesson I would say, I'll just throw out there, from not only nonprofit, but any initiative, I feel like is if you don't care, if there's not a true reason why, and if there's not a connection with, why, you're doing the work that you're doing and what it ultimately does and how it helps people and that kind of stuff, then you're not going to be successful. I was taught years ago that reasons come first, answers come second. So if I know the reasons why this is happening or why I want this or why, then I can go after it and with so much more fervor, fire, zeal, passion, enthusiasm, whatever it is, because I know, because I feel it, right? Because it is a part of me. And I think that's so powerful. So from that perspective, toss it back over to Kelli. Tell me, as you said, you've been, you guys are, of course, as always, building the plane as you're flying it. What are some of the things, I guess, that you did from a personal development and a nonprofit development perspective to show you, like you said, you didn't have the formal education in the area. You didn't, go to nonprofit school or anything like that. So what are some of the things that you did that actually positioned you to be effective in your role as executive director?
So I survived, what I'm saying? Like my life has been about survival, having, a parent who basically abandoned me and one who struggles with addiction. I was with, my grandmother and just had the ultimate role model of what survival looks like. My grandmother was born in 1918 or 19, you know, when you consider it property, your birth certificate can say whatever. So we got 2 different birth certificates for her, but she was born into sharecropping. And just all that she survived, you know, she had a grade school education. Her mom passed when she was in grade school, you know, and then to go on to build the kind of life that she built for us, and to be able to be the refuge that I needed and that my sister needed when we needed her. She's amazing to me. And so just remembering her life, and looking at her life and pulling from that, but also pulling from, you know, my mom's resolve as she fights through her addiction. I mean, she is not a lost cause to me at all. She is fighting, you know, we're talking about the will to serve, you know, my will to serve came from the will to survive. And so I brought those survival skills over, you know, to this work that I feel God has called our family to do. And that's how I figured it out. I mean, you know, from an entrepreneur, if there's a problem, you can't wait to go to school to figure out how to deal with it. You Googling something, you calling somebody, you know what I'm saying? You on that hustle and that grind to figure out how to fix the problem. And so that's how I've been able to, you know, hone my skill set. Now I did go to KSU and I graduated, you know, from the Coles College of Business with honors. Just got to throw that in there.
Of course. Of course.
But, you know, really the work. Because it took me almost 100 years to graduate, but that's all right.
But you got it. But you got it. That's what
But the foundation of who I am and what I do day to day and lead came from lived life experience and just working to survive life.
I love it. I love it. And I think that, you know, so many people, especially in this day and age, they're looking for the magic pill, right? They're looking for the out of the box solution. They're looking for all those types of things. But I think, as you just said, nothing beats being thrown into the fire and learning how not to get burnt too bad. You know, I might smell like smoke a little bit, but I'm okay, right? My clothes are still intact. You know, my hair, I still got some of it here. It's still here.
Yeah.
A little bit. You know, so, you know, from that perspective. So I think that's powerful. So, you know what? So I'm really interested in this concept. You know, as I said, I have my own kind of, let's say, conceptual thing. Like I talked about this whole new rebound process that I created out of the pandemic, which was all about, you know, as I said, reflection, refocusing, reinventing, reinvesting, and then repeating. So I know that you have a construct that is extremely powerful, CJ. So I would love for you to share this critical change construct and what it means and how it's applicable in so many ways. So I'm going to give the floor to you, sir.
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, I do think that it's powerful. And I know it definitely works for me. And so although, you know, there's no magic solution out there for everybody, but I do think that there are frameworks and constructs that can really help people understand where to start, what's next, and so on and so forth. So the critical change construct for me was born out of I was in the 2015 Leadership Atlanta class, and it was a very, very difficult year for me. This leadership cohort, as I was learning a whole lot of different things and having to do a lot of reflecting to just understand, like, how the hell did I get here? I mean, because I'm in these rooms with powerful people. People are listening to me, and I'm listening to these people, and it's also aligning with my life mission. And so when I finished that year, I was 40 years old. I also had, during that time, I was asked, and I said yes to something that was dreadful for me. I was asked to be a keynote speaker to talk about the power of grit. And I should have just said no, but for whatever reason, I said yes. And there's gonna be all these people. I'm not a public speaker, and all this. By the time I said yes, and I was just like, well, I need to get some help writing a speech. So I'm speaking with a gentleman who I had known, but never really had a reason to really spend time with him until I said yes to this speech. He's a speechwriter, and he challenged me. He said, CJ, I want you to to talk about your life like a baseball field. So from home to first, birth in, first to second base, 11 to 20, second to third, 21 to 30, and then coming home, 31 to 40. And at the time, I was becoming 41 years old. And so as I was doing all this reflection, and I ended up doing the speech, it was great. I started to think about like my life. It starts with conviction. Everything starts with conviction. And then at that point, then I get connected to the what I'm supposed to do. So conviction is the why. Yeah. And then now connection is the what. And then we can build a consensus. So I'm connected. I know what to do, but consensus is now where we're making promises and guarantees. And then from consensus, now we can collaborate. And so from a collaboration standpoint, now we're starting to bring those resources in. So this is beyond just talks and we shake hands. Now you're bringing your stuff. And then we can experience change. So the construct for me that works for me in my life is everything starts with conviction. So when I'm talking to donors, when I'm talking to the young men in our program, when Kelli and I, we're trying to figure out program design for the year, let's get convicted right here. It's going to be uncomfortable, but that's what we need, because nothing that we're connected, there's no connection without conviction. Like, what the hell are we doing? Like this, if there's no conviction, like what are we doing? So then now we're connected. Like you feel me, I feel you, we're connected. Now this is about consensus. Let's have a consensus using words like promise and guarantee. I promise this, I guarantee that. And then going back to trust, for me, trust is developed when you make promises and keep promises. If you're not making a promise, it'll take us 30 years. In 30 seconds, I will trust you. If you make a promise and keep a promise, then we're building trust. And then collaboration, which this critical change construct is so important, because a lot of people want to start out collaborating. And it's like, man, I don't even feel you. Or ma'am, I don't feel you. How are we going to collaborate? You want me to bring my phone book to this relationship? I don't know you and I don't feel you.
Right.
And then if we get all that done, then we can experience some change. And I'll just say lastly, just to that point on the construct, what naturally happens is we do it backwards. You know, we always start out with the change that we want to have. So we need to have change in our society with regards to race relations. All right. So then let's collaborate. So then that doesn't work out. So then now we got to go spend thousands of dollars to then do some consensus building. Mm-hmm. And then when the consensus building exercise doesn't work, then we got to spend thousands of dollars, way more money to now go get connected. So we got to fly somewhere and hire some amazing speaker like Chris Cooper to help us get. And then when Chris Cooper comes in, guess what Chris Cooper is going to do? He's going to convict us. So what I'm saying is let's start out with Chris Cooper. Let's get convicted first. Yeah. Then we can get connected. Then we got a consensus, and then we have collaboration. We'll save a lot of money, even though Chris is going to be expensive. We'll save a lot of money, but we will also save a lot of time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I think that is such a powerful way to look at it. And I think one thing that I love about your construct is that it involves the voices of all people, right? It involves people, right? People are the central focus of this, right? Convicting people, connecting people, building consensus with people, collaborating with people, you know, creating change with people. Because like you said, the overall output is to leave a lasting and indelible mark, right? I mean, that's the goal. The goal is to make it happen, to leave a legacy, to change the paradigm, to move things forward. So I love that. I love that the conviction, the connection, the consensus, the collaboration, ultimately it creates change. And you are just like me, my brother, because like I said, it's like it's like a cycle, right? It's a cyclic, you know, that's the engineering in me from Georgia Tech, I guess, that comes out every now and then about thinking about processes and systems and how they should work properly. That's so dope. That is so dope. I love it. I love it. I love it. So let's talk about this. As I said, I'll go for it, Kelli.
Because I want to make sure that your listeners and viewers understand how important this framework is, because we didn't always have this framework. CJ didn't always have this framework. This framework came out of failure. So I won't say the organization's name, but earlier on in our life cycle as an organization, we're trying to put this together on how to raise money because, like I said, we didn't go to school for this. We're not development people. We're not fundraising people. We just got a heart for the community. You know what I'm saying? It takes money to make it happen. So there was another organization that seemed to have their stuff together. They were white led. So you know how we are sometimes in the community, white is right. So it's like, we're going to get these white people who are going to come aboard, who's going to help us raise this money. And there was no conviction. There was no connection. There was no consensus. We jumped straight to collaboration. And what eventually happened is we learned that behind our backs, this organization was trying to take our stuff.
Wow.
So we were like, here we are coming in the spirit of, you know, good faith, and we're sharing so much of our secret sauce and everything. And these folks had a whole separate fundraising campaign going with our content. We weren't even involved in it. And so the birth of that critical change construct came out of being, you know, feeling betrayed. It came out of feeling disrespected. And it came out of, you know, what we had to say to ourselves is like, bet on you. You know what I'm saying? Like, bet on you. Don't buy into age-old traditions that says that if it's gonna be right, it got to be all white. Now we got some amazing white people who are a part of our organization and who are amazing contributors. But what I'm saying to those of us who are out there who are leaders in industry and we're African American, we just need to understand that we cannot sell ourselves short on what we bring to the table, thinking that the only way it's going to survive
is if you have that.
Because we can sell ourselves out. You know what I'm saying? And we can give away something so valuable, and somebody else will go and capitalize off of it because we're not willing to bet on ourselves. So this framework, and CJ, like you, he's really big on this framework stuff. And I have not been big on framework because, again, I come from a survival mindset. And, you know,
yours is real fluid and his is more structured. I get it.
But it has been so helpful to us because that is the process that we put up when it comes down to if we partner with somebody or not. Like, where are we here? And, you know, we save ourselves so much time, energy. You know, like I said, we husband and wife. We don't need to be feuding about folks we don't even need to be partnering with anyway. You know what I'm saying? I just want to make that clear that I love it. How that construct came about. It wasn't because he was just sitting around with leisure time. But you know what I'm saying? It was like out of frustration and out of failure that he created that.
I love it. And I love your once again, the authenticity in that and the transparency in that. And I think some of the best lessons we learn through failure, right? Or through being taken advantage of, or through being frustrated, you know, that they say you're really developed in the valley, not on the mountaintop. So I think that is such a powerful construct. And you just mentioned, you know, one thing that I use, I'm big on acronyms. So one thing that I use every time is system. You know, save yourself stress, time, energy, and money. And I think this construct allows you all to save yourself stress, time, energy, and money. That's,
I like that.
Y'all didn't catch it. SYSTEM. But I think it's so critical. And I love the fact that you all are able to not only be yourselves, right? Bring your true authentic self to work every day in a way that is of service to serve people. But at the same time, which I think is critically important, we know this, especially with our kids being connected and all other kind of stuff, about the importance of being seen, being heard, being valued, right? And I love that you're letting these young men and these young individuals you work with really understand the importance of that and how that and what that looks like. So that, guess what? So they can create their own constructs, right? They can create their own, their own pathways and do some awesome and incredible things. So one thing I'm going to ask you. So over the pandemic, what's one thing that you learned about yourself, and maybe one change that you made, throughout this pandemic period. I'll start with CJ since we just heard from Kelli first.
Golly, man, the pandemic really had a toll on me. And thus the reason why it was so important for us to raise funds, because for so long, Kelli and I have been wearing multiple hats and doing a lot of jobs that we couldn't afford to hire people to do. And, and it was just starting to wear me out because we were starting to bring in not only more boys, but more trauma. Really going deep with it. And so then, just kind of one of them things was just like, man, I'm going to literally wear myself out trying to serve. And so, fortunately, as we started to get the funding that we needed, we were able to hire staff and got some great folks on the team. But, I started getting therapy, and that's really, really good to, especially when we're talking about reflecting.
Yes.
For me and my childhood, there's so much stuff that I've forgotten. And sometimes around my family, and they'll say, remember this and remember that. I'm like, I don't remember any of that. But I also had so much stuff going on trauma-wise that I don't think it would be good for me to remember a lot of everything. I don't remember. I do not remember.
Right.
I've had to train myself to block out so much stuff. I hope that doesn't lead to me having Alzheimer's for real. Sometimes I get afraid. I be afraid because there's so many moments, things that I've learned. And now that I'm going through therapy, I feel like so many things happen that are just so traumatic that it has an impact on you. But ultimately, I just want to be healthy first off for Kelli. I want to be healthy for our daughters, and then be able to do the work with lead. So COVID has. I was working way harder than I wanted to, should have. God blessed us with funds to be able to hire staff. But I do love now that I get an opportunity to have therapy to just try to be whole.
And I love the fact that you link that to reflection, which is powerful, right? And we all, let's be honest, we all have our trauma and our trauma defaults. And one thing, and I've learned from a lot of psychology, et cetera, kind of that I also have dealt with that particular piece. And I've always referred to it as strategic displacement. So if I convince myself that, this didn't happen or this wasn't a reality, it allows me to be able to cope and ultimately move forward. But the therapist got in my, about that as well. And you can't just put stuff, compartmentalize and decide that I'm not going to remember that stuff. But like you, I have experiences too. I'm like, I don't remember that. And they're like, you have to remember that. I'm like, no, I don't. So, and hopefully I won't have Alzheimer's. Hopefully that they won't have to put us both in the same home, CJ, to deal with that. So I completely understand. So for Kelli, so for you, I guess that's cool to kind of relate it to those maybe one of the 4 R's that I shared earlier: the reflection, the refocusing, the reinvention, the reinvesting. Like what stands out to you about what you experienced and how you maybe have grown or developed, or what you were focused on during we're in this post-pandemic of sorts. I don't know where we are, but whatever we are today. But just share a little bit about what you learned through that process.
So what COVID-19 has taught me is that everybody ain't hurting, and I was already always anxious about raising funds anyway. It's so the nonprofit world is so competitive. So was already anxious about fundraising, period. And then here you go into this unknown state of being that most of us have never experienced before in our lives.
Yeah.
And we talking about the world shutting down. And it's like, the last thing I need for donors to do is to only look inward to try to take care of their, families and not, but everybody ain't hurting. So what's a pandemic and a crisis mean? What a pandemic and a crisis means to one group of people, it means something totally different to other groups of people. And that understanding was very important for me to have as an executive director and as someone on our team who is a leader of the fundraising effort, is because I also couldn't have this, we call it in Black culture pole mouthing.
Right.
Because I can't be going out here when I need $500,000 asking for $25,000 because I feel like somebody ain't got it.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? That's
correct.
Whether they got it or not is not my problem. What I have to do is I have to be bold enough and have the courage to ask for it.
Absolutely.
So that's what this time has taught me.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, I have thoroughly enjoyed the both of you today. I'm sure everybody else has. Sorry, it looks like we were having some issues with the comments today, but it's okay. We'll fix that up. But there's definitely been lots of interaction on all the platforms, the Facebook, the LinkedIn, the YouTube, etc. So I would love for you both to share. How can we support you guys? How can we learn more about what you're doing? Where can we find you? All that kind of great stuff. So here's your moment to share.
Our website is leadcenterforyouth.org. We are focusing on Mission 100, which is increasing our programming that will ultimately lead us to serving 500 youth. We're not quite there to serving 500 youth annually, but we're working to get there. And we're also working to rebound from the pandemic to where we had to shut down programming. So now we're welcoming families back in. We have a new center, facility over in the Met in the West End called the Lead Center for Youth. Please go to our website, reach out to us, come out and take a tour so you can see exactly what we do and how we do it. Sport-based youth development is a very specific discipline. So we're not just out here throwing balls, playing catch with our babies. We are definitely trained professionals at trauma-informed programming. So definitely go to the site, reach out to us so you can come take a tour, but also support, Mission 100 so that we can make sure as many boys who need us can have access to us, because the landscape is very different now. Yes. I mean, our families, we always say, have been fighting the social pandemics of crime, poverty, and racism. And then you throw in this medical pandemic of COVID-19, and it's just made a hard day harder, for our families. So we really need support on various levels, from outreach, not just from programming standpoint, but also for outreach. So reach out to us and I can get you plugged in.
Absolutely. Wow. Well, I have loved having the dynamic duo. I hate that. That is so beneath you guys, in my opinion. My brother, my sister, I love y'all, to the moon and back 1,000,000 times. Give it up. As they said, everyone, go to leadcenterforyouth.org. Make sure that you support my community. Y'all stand up, support our people, and allow them to continue to be of service and do some awesome and incredible things. Leadcenterforyouth.org. Support Mission 100. I'm super excited. I can't believe I have to come out to the facility. I haven't been out to the facility.
Yes, we got to get you out there.
I'm coming, so y'all put me on the docket because I definitely want to experience that. I joke all the time. I tried to get my boys to get into baseball when they were younger, and they told me that they wanted to do other things. So I'm still feeling some kind of way about that. But maybe I'll bring them so that way they can see something different. So thank you all so much for sharing. Thank you so much for your transparency. And more importantly, thank you for just being badasses that you are and serving the community and making things happen. As I would say, that's how we get shit done. So having said that, guys, it has been an awesome pleasure. It's been a privilege to be with each and every one of you guys. Tune in once again, same time, same place. Once again, Rebound with Chris.com to find more information about my upcoming live events and all that kind of cool stuff. But as I always say, we got to understand that breakthroughs are sexy. So we got to ignite the fire inside. I love you all. God bless. Have a super fantastic and most excellent week. I'll see you next time. Let's go. Take care, guys.